Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com, and today I'm going to tell you about some visual lies they want us to swallow. Okay, let's start. So, when I say lie, people get upset. They say, well, why? How can you call that a lie? Well, let's say that the information I'm going to give you, if you search a bit on Google or on YouTube, maybe you may find it, or you consult the exact specification of your gear, you will find it. But normally, people don't talk too much about it. Many reviewers ignore it. Many sellers ignore it or don't want you to know. And camera makers, they're not really interested in you knowing what I'm going to tell. Okay, so many people contact me asking, what is it better, 16 bits, 14 bits, or 12 bits sensor? 16 bits is more like medium format, not many people ask for that, but they have big doubts for 14 bits that you can find on APS-C sensor and full frame sensor, comparing to 12 bits you normally find on Micro Four Thirds. Okay, so they're a bit worried about how many colors it will display and what is best. Most people think that 14 bits will give you more colors and you will see more colors. Other people think that 16 is really what you need to see more colors. But what is the reality? The reality is, let's check what the eye can actually see, okay? Well, the eye has 126 million light-sensitive cells. And normally you have three kind of things in there that see colors. And they each see about 100 color shades. Okay, it means that the human eye actually sees about 1 million different colors. Some studies say you can actually see more, like 2.5 million or up to 16.5 million. Well, not everyone agree, but anyway, except if you have some genetic mutation. Some people have 4 of these small cones that actually see more, and these people is 1.25% of the world population, so it's really not much. So these people can actually see up to 100 million colors. Okay, and then you have people that are colorblind. They actually have 2 of these small cones that actually see colors, and they can get about 10,000 colors. But these are exceptions. Okay, so normally at the most, if you're one of these 1% of the world population, you will see 100 million colors. And if you are like me, a standard person, you see between 1 million up to 16 million, probably 1 million. Okay. So it means that what does your camera capture? If it's 12 bits sensor, it captures actually 4096 tone shade of colors per channel, red, green, and blue. So 3 channel, you actually see, well, it actually captures 68,000 million colors. And of these 68,000 million, you actually can see about from 1 to at the most 100 million. So many more than what you can see. And then if you speak about 14 bits, then you actually can see 4.4 trillion colors. You see, no, you can see, your camera can capture, you cannot see that 4 trillion shade of colors. Okay, and then if it's 16 bits, then it's 281 trillions. Okay, so it means that doesn't matter if it's 12, 14, or 16 bit, your eye will never see all these colors, ever. So when someone tells you, yeah, I've changed cameras, I can really see more colors, you're dreaming, man. You're dreaming. You cannot see more colors. What may happen is that you actually change camera brand and model, and they have better color science, and colors are closer to reality or closer to what you like to look at, and you're pleased with it. But it has nothing to do with the amount of colors. Okay, it's color science. It's color tones. It's not the number of colors you're actually capturing. Okay, so why should you get 16 instead of 14 instead of 12 bit sensor? Well, actually, all this extra information you're getting is used for higher dynamic range. It means in shades, in darker parts, you will have more details. This is why it's more interesting to have 14 bits than 12, or better 16 than 14, because you will see better in the darker parts of your picture. Okay, so they sold you colors. You're happy because you thought you were going to see more colors. You don't actually see more colors. You have higher dynamic range, so you say, okay, they just half cheated. Okay, they told me it would be more colors, but I don't get it. I get it, but I don't see it. But at least I get more dynamic range. But then when they actually sell you this top range camera, they always tell you that this camera now you can really put higher ISO without noise. And this is where Sony people are going to kill me, okay? When they tell you, you can go up to 50,000 ISO, and this is great, and you get no noise. And you look at the picture, 51,000 ISO, you look and you don't see noise, you feel, whoa, that's great. But then they forget to tell you one part. Every time you put one stop of extra ISO on top of the base ISO, you lose one stop of dynamic range. It means that if you have a camera, normally dynamic range at the most is the amount of bits you get. On a 14-bit sensor, you probably get up to, at the maximum, 14 stop of dynamic range. On a 16-bit, maximum 16 stop of dynamic range. On a 12, okay? So it means that if you have the best camera, you can imagine, with the maximum dynamic range you can get with these bits, like a 14 stop, let's say what is really close to that is a Nikon D850, and you're on 100 ISO. When you go to 200 ISO, then you go down to 13 stop of dynamic range. If you're on 1600 ISO, then you're down on 10 stop dynamic range. And if you go on 6400 ISO, then you're on 8 stop of dynamic range, probably close to what your screen is displaying, or maybe even less what your screen is displaying. So putting your ISO higher will kill dynamic range, and then you will lose quality when you look on the good screen. So this is incredible, because they actually sold you these greater, more colors. Then you realize, well, I don't see them, but at least I get more dynamic range. But then they sell you the high ISO, you're killing it right now. And this is where you get to something that is really funny. If you look at my Micro Four Thirds by Olympus with 12 bits depth of color, at the most 12 stops of dynamic range. It starts on 200 ISO. It means when I am 400 ISO, I've got 11 stop of dynamic range, and a very expensive Nikon D850 has 400 at 400 ISO has 12 stops, just one stop better. But the strength of Olympus, for example, is the stabilizer. I can go right now. I'm trying the Olympus OMD1 Mark III. It's giving me 7 stop of stability. So obviously, if I'm doing action photography, I cannot lower the speed. I do need to put a higher ISO. But normally, otherwise, if I do night photography or sit in portrait or whatever, I don't have to put high ISO. I can stay on 200 ISO. So if I count on 6 stops, when you're on 3200 ISO on a Nikon D850, you get 9 stop dynamic range. But I'm still on 200 ISO, and I get 12 stops of dynamic range. It means my Micro Four Thirds is giving better dynamic range than a Nikon D850. And that's a big problem. This is probably why now Canon R6, Sony Alpha 1, they're all working really hard on stabilization, because they realize now that you must not go with your ISO a lot higher, because then you kill the dynamic range. Okay. So another thing, many people then say, yeah, but if you buy one of these top gear camera, you get a lot more resolution. If you get 40 million instead of the 12 or 20 million or 16 million of lower range, then it's better. And then I ask, better for what? Yeah, when I zoom on my screen, I see a lot of details. I can zoom and see details and details and details. Okay, you're right. If I want to crop, I also see more details. Yeah, that's right. But how many pixels can actually see the human eye? Well, actually, if I put my finger that far, okay, that far, and here I draw some line, vertical line and horizontal line, I can see up to 60 vertical and 60 horizontal. If I put more than this is 120 pixels, okay, because you need one black, one white, one black to make a difference between lines, okay. Over this, I just see one massive area, dark area, okay. So if the resolution is higher than this 60 line, horizontal and vertical, I don't see the difference. It means that you're paying for a lot of extra for something you don't see. So unless you're going to print without interpolating, it means that it makes artificial dots, because obviously if you enlarge a picture and the dots will be apart, so there will be some gaps. So you need to fill it with something. Otherwise, unless you're really far, if you're at close distance, you will see these gaps. So it artificially fills interpolating. So unless you don't want to interpolate, then yes, it's interesting to have more resolution so you can enlarge without losing quality. Okay, but normally if you look at a normal distance at a picture, printed picture, not like this, you don't look at the picture like this, you sit at the normal distance. Very often you will see that with a 12 million pixel file, you can print really large, and if you look at the normal distance, you won't see any space between dots. You won't see any pixel, no problem. It will not pixelate, nothing. So this is incredible that they sell you many colors you don't actually see. Then they may explain, if we ask, that it's to get a better dynamic range. But then they motivate you to put higher ISO, and you actually kill the dynamic range you've paid for. And then they sell you an extra resolution you don't actually see. You cannot actually see, okay? So it's not to say don't buy or buy, whatever. It's just for you to know that in many situations, never put higher ISO, use a tripod, or get a stabilized camera, a stabilized lens, but really good one. But don't put higher ISO, otherwise you will be killing this higher dynamic range. And the resolution, most of the time, you will not see any difference. And this is something they forget to tell you. Okay, so I hope you like the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The small button down here, a so small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. And also I'll leave you links of my gear on Amazon, also links to other parts of my YouTube channel, and link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.